Alright, I'm here to teach you how to make one of the greatest squirrel traps. First, you gotta know what to make and how to make it and all that kind of stuff. So, what I have here is actually a fiberglass rod, and it's holding all the tension for this. You can use a tree, as I'll show later in the movie, but as we can see here, this is actually a very simple trap to make. It just takes a little bit of time. We have right here and here are two, well, for me they're metal, but you can find just sticks, and they look just like a upside down L. They have to have a little bit of a gap, or else they won't hold this stick right here. It's actually floating above, as you can see. The next thing is you're gonna have this stick, which I don't want to touch yet because this trap is actually set right now. It's the trigger mechanism, and whenever something touches that, when it goes for the food, it's gonna pull up, and there you go, you got your squirrel. We also got this piece of wood thrown in the ground, and it's just holding this one against another piece of wood that I actually have in the back, holding all this tension together. Now, you still don't know how to make it. Well, what you have to do is you have to find a tree or something bendable like this fiberglass rod that's going to be able to hold a lot of tension. Not too much, but enough to whip fast to scare the squirrel and kill it. What you need to do is get all the equipment first, all the pieces of wood, whatever you're going to use for your trigger mechanism and your power source. But there's also something else you need, and that's the string. It's a little bit different for me right now, but all you have to do is make a loop in the string, make sure it's a knot, and all you gotta do is just wrap it around the end of this. That's just so when it whips, it pulls up, not just flat. You also make one down here. See how the string goes through the loop? And as I pull on the string, the loop, as we saw, it just went off. That was extremely quick. But all these little circles are small loops, which I'll show later in the movie. So, one thing I forgot to tell you about is you're also going to need a small stick just to tie to it. So, I'll set it up and you'll see how to do this. So, I'll try to do this with one hand. Alright, I don't know if you can see this, but you should be looking at the whole thing, from the metal bars to the piece of wood. So we have our stick, and it's just kind of sitting inside of the two L-shaped pieces of metal for me. It could be anything for you. We also have the stick on the other side. Now, this is going to take a little bit of time, but when you get your piece of wood and you got to tie it on just far enough away where it gives a good amount of tension but not too much. As you will see, this is how you're going to set it. When you have the whole thing tied together, you got your rope on the top tied, you got all these pieces of wood into the ground, you have this little piece of wood tied to the rope. You're going to loop it under the stick, and the stick will pull up. There's no problem there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your other stick, which is going to be the trigger, and you're going to put it in between the small stick that you just hooked on and the stick that you shoved into the ground. And that's how you get it to be set. Now for the string, it's actually a very simple process. All you have to do is take the loop and pull the string through it. It's as simple as that. Because when it pulls, it's going to choke it, and you're going to have your squirrel. This is not a trap for keeping it alive or just scaring them away. If you miss, you'll scare the out of them, but you'll see. The last bit is taking your big circle of rope and wrapping it under whatever you use to catch the squirrel. Cheerios work great, also peanut butter, but usually any food. You could get seeds from birds or peanuts or anything. And you have your trap. I have this piece of wood here just because it was bending awkward without it, the fiberglass tube. And I just have it smashed in a hole just to keep it steady. And then you leave it alone. You try to wait for, I don't know how long. Probably, it usually takes overnight. Don't keep checking it, just, mine's tall enough to see out my back window. But some others, like if you throw it in some woods and stuff, you might not be able to find it so easily, but just come out like maybe every 5 hours and check on it. If the food is gone but the trap is not set, that means your trigger wasn't sensitive enough. So maybe scooch it off a little bit to the side, or maybe you need a little bit more tension on the string. Now, one of the hardest things is probably hitting these into the ground. For me, I had to hit them kind of diagonally, because they will pop out because of so much tension on the string. But that's as simple as it gets, and I'll show you a very quick way for trees in a second. Alright, so I'm in the woods, not very deep, but I could find just a simple tree to show you guys if you don't have any fiberglass tubes or rods, or any PVC would even work, a thin piece of PVC. But all you'd have to do instead of that is just bend it down. And what it would look like is it would just start to bend. Now this tree is not one of the greatest. You need a small sapling. Because last time I tried with one of these trees, I came back about 3 hours later and the thing was just a little higher. The trap was already sprung and it didn't have enough power. As you will see, it really doesn't. You need something a little stronger, but that's as simple as it gets for the small tree. How to do it? Take your string, fold it in half, leave a good amount of room. This is overkill, but that's pretty good size right there. What you're gonna do, you're gonna take it and you're pretty much just gonna do another knot with it. A simple knot. Hopefully you all know how to do that. Then you just pull it through. And any excess that you have hanging, you just cut that off. And that's how you make your loop.